like Notion or anyone really that's thinking about, getting really serious about content, where does content marketing end and editorial begin?
That is such a good question. And I think it is very a gray area.
Yeah.
It is a blend because there's
Yeah.
content that can have certain editorial aspects, right? Like we were definitely producing a lot of content that was still optimized for the SEO or
Hmm.
education, but where we wanted to have a little bit more musicality to how we were presenting the information. I think something that's very special about the Notion brand that we tried to make consistent throughout everything we did was sort of a warmth and kind of like a homespun humanity rather than it feeling just very sort of like basic or like, oh, this
Yeah.
is just the information sort of plainly presented. We wanted it to be a little bit more conversational.
Sure.
So I think that a lot of what we were doing just on the basic content side got infused with that. But then on the editorial side, I think that that's less about, what are these key goals that you have for the business and more about how you want the people who you are reaching to feel. And I
Mm.
think that that sort of gets to the heart of what marketing is. And I think it's very easy to lose sight of, at least for me. That good marketing is all about helping people feel the way they want to feel about themselves.
Yeah.
And that editorial is often a really great way to do that without giving them the hard sell on what your product or service is.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. And I do see the kind of historical context for content being so performance marketing oriented in SEO, and then editorial kind of brings that warmth, I think is how you refer to it, or just surely the desire to build something that inspires, perhaps alongside
Right.
educates. I've seen this role even start to come up. I'm not sure if this is something that's everyone's doing, but this idea of like a head of editorial, which has
Hmm.
been maybe as a student of being in the SaaS industry for 12 years or so, but like it feels like, is this like a head of content? Is it a second thing? Like, do these strategies kind of interweave together, or are they effectively two different go-to-markets? I was curious just if you had seen some of this kind of head of editorial role start to make its way into the startup, the B2B startup.
Absolutely. I think that the highest profile example of this might be what Stripe is building, where they have
Yeah.
a head of editorial that then sits atop sort of several content plays,
Mm.
like Stripe Press. And then there's Increment, which is their amazing quarterly magazine that they put out, and
Mm.
then other efforts. And I think that I don't know for sure right now, but I think it is bifurcated from some of the more general content that they
Okay.
produce. I am seeing that increasingly be the case. I get approached all the time with people being like, "Do you have any referrals for us for head of editorial roles that are opening up?" And I think people are starting to realize that sort of this churning SEO play is not as effective as it used to be. And I'm happy to provide more information about that. But going back to what you said, really it's about inspiring people, about giving them information that's truly of value for them based on where they are in the world and what they're interested in. So, like Increment, which I think is such an impressive content effort, it's really just about solving problems for engineers
Yeah.
across like a variety of topics, like performance that usually you don't get to go into with any depth. But it's adjacent to what Stripe actually does and is very useful for their audience.